From the Thomas K. McKeon Center for Creativity at Tulsa Community College Metro Campus in downtown Tulsa, this is the Big Blue Podcast. I'm Lee Goodson, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Greg Stone, the provost of the Southeast Campus. Good afternoon, Greg.
Hello. How are you, Dr. Goodson?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Our guest today is Eunice Tarver, provost of the Northeast Campus. Thank you for taking the time to visit with us today, Eunice.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we are really glad you're here.
Thanks.
So it's been a few years now, but a while back, let's see, how long's it been? 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since you were named the Assistant VP for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion
Yes.
a few years ago. And we've made incredible progress in advancing the equity agenda for students, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, just really a lot to brag about. So regarding student outcomes. So tell us about 2 or 3 of the biggest wins that you feel like we've had here at the college regarding student outcomes since you've taken that role.
All right. So for me, I think prior to our partnership with the University of Southern California's Center for Urban Education, we were really focusing on diversity and inclusion. So equity and certainly racial equity were not part of our vocabulary here at TCC. And so when we were thinking about, diversity and inclusion, we were really looking at it in terms of college access. And even when we were doing our retention work, we hadn't reached the point of disaggregating our data and engaging in inquiry to really look at why do these gaps exist and what can we do as individual practitioners and as an institution to work to eliminate those gaps. So through your courageous leadership, you really allowed us to partner with an institution that was progressive in their work about centering racial, ethnic equity and outcomes across different student sectors. And so I think that that's been a tremendous win for us to really be able to introduce the word, the meaning, the understanding of equity, and then move on to training groups of faculty around what does equity look like in practice in the classroom. Mm-hmm. So I would say that that's one win that I am really excited about. I would also what comes to mind is the creation of our completion and retention grants. So through the Clearing the Pathway campaign, we were able to create these completion and retention grants. And really what they did is they focused on students who had already stopped out, but they had a proven academic record of success. And they had a small unmet financial need that was proving to be a barrier to their success. So we've been able to implement those, and the few cohorts that we have established, now we have graduated 80% of those recipients within a year of being awarded. Either graduated the 80% or 5 of those are on track to graduate this spring. So I think that that's a tremendous win, and it really helps us in eliminating the equity gap.
That is fabulous.
Yeah,
Those are fabulous
excited.
outcomes for our students.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're great stories to hear from those students who were so close and had something that for a lot of us would not be a huge barrier to overcome, but it was going to be the end of their education.
You're right.
Right.
When we looked at some of those students and listened to their stories, it was something as small as $500 keeping them from completing the last 6 to 9 hours of their education. So by paying that $500 off, they were able to come back and in the same semester graduate. So I think that that's been a tremendous success. And I do want to quickly mention the last piece is about our inaugural Institute for Culturally Responsive Pedagogy. I think that that was also another tremendous win for our institution, and we were able to host the scholar who coined the phrase culturally relevant pedagogy, Dr. Gloria Latsing-Billings, and just a little plug that we have our next one coming up, and it's going to be June the 11th and 12th, and for the first time we get to host it here at TCC. So it's going to be at our Southeast campus. We're super excited about that, and we're going to be bringing in Dr. Durald Wing Sue, who's known for his scholarship around microaggressions and human behavior and implicit bias. He is a world-renowned scholar, and so he will be here in Tulsa with us along with Dr. Luke Wood, who is from San Diego University, and he is known for his work around factors that really impede the success of African American males, specifically in community colleges. So please put that down on your calendar. It's already on Dr. Goodson's calendar.
Oh, it is? Okay,
Yeah, it's on
that's
there.
good.
It's on there.
Okay.
So we're excited about
Good
it.
to know.
Yeah.
So Eunice, I know that just from hearing you talk about the direction this work can go in, there's a lot more still to do, right? As Dr. Hess says,
Absolutely.
we haven't arrived. So what are the things that are going to be on the horizon over the next few years? Where is this work going to take us from this point forward?
So I think that we've done a great job of laying the foundation around an understanding of what racial equity is, why that's important for a community college whose emerging student population are students of color. But I think that we've only scratched the surface, and so we've got to scale that up. We've been able to train some faculty across different disciplines. We've provided them with tools and the know-how on how to mitigate these inequities that show up in the classroom, but we've got to scale that work up. We've got to provide the opportunity for more faculty and staff to engage in that work and to learn those skills and what it means to become an equity-minded practitioner. I think also we need to look at just some of our data practices and making sure that we are doing that across the college, across departments, around disaggregating data, and then partnering people with the folks who have already completed this training so that they can mentor them to understand what does it mean to reflect on this data. Let's engage in further inquiry around the data to figure out what can we do to be the community college that we want to be. And we're on that path, but there are some strategies and some tools that we have learned, and we've just got to scale those things up across the college. So I think that we also need to build a culture of equity-minded practice across TCC and non-academic areas. So we've really focused on the academic side of the house, but I think there's tremendous opportunities on what we can do with the non-academic areas of the college. And I'm excited about the role of our new VP of Student Affairs and Equity and the work that they're going to do to lead us into that next phase of scaling this work up.
So let's talk about that for just a second. So we are searching for a new vice president for student affairs and equity, and you and I discussed that actually before I decided to go in that direction. I'm always
Absolutely.
asking
Yes.
people their advice before we move in a direction. Share with us how that's going to change your administrative work going forward, because it seems like part of that is yours right now, but it's not going to be forever. And so talk to us about what your vision is for how your work fits into the institution going forward.
So I am excited because it's going to really increase my bandwidth to work more closely with our VP of Workforce Development, Pete Selden, and really growing our workforce development programming in the School of Engineering, Aviation, and Public Service. It also grows my capacity to continue to work with our phenomenal faculty and staff and growing our campus's responsiveness to address the need for creating more opportunities for our adult learners that's on our campus to be able to acquire stackable credentials and really looking at emerging certifications, because we want to look at these as tools for upskilling, reskilling, and lifelong learning. So I'm excited about really focusing on that work. And then it's just a greater opportunity for me to keep the skills of the future and industry needs and the needs of North Tulsa and the surrounding communities at the top of mind to make sure that our campus is remaining adaptable and flexible as we continue our commitment for providing the best community college experience for our students.
Well, you're listening to the Big Blue Podcast. I'm Greg Stone, here with Dr. Lee Goodson and our special guest today, my colleague Eunice Tarver, Provost of the Northeast Campus and Assistant VP for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I got that backward, but they're all there. Thank you.
We'll accept it.
Thank you. So, Eunice, let's talk just about Northeast Campus. You talked about some of the STEM-related and manufacturing and workforce programs there at Northeast Campus. There's a lot going on in Northeast. And if other colleagues of ours haven't driven up that way in a while, then maybe they should. It's always a hub of activity, as all of our campuses are, certainly. But there's some changes coming in terms of concurrent education as well, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about how Northeast is going to become one of our centers for concurrent enrollment, and then maybe also talk to us about what that impact is going to be on the Owasso Community Campus, which is tied to the Northeast Campus schedule as well.
So we are thrilled to become one of the 2 campuses at TCC that is going to be able to create this early college experience. We have faculty and staff that are eagerly anticipating the energy that this student body is going to bring to our campus. They are so vested in really molding these brilliant minds. And so we've really been known as this workforce campus, but we're so much more than just workforce. So this early college high experience is really going to bring the diverse population that we are wanting to the Northeast campus. And I think I am just as excited about the focus of this early college high being on first generation, low income students of color who historically haven't had equitable access to these high impact opportunities. So for TCC to blaze the trail strategically in some underserved parts of Tulsa, I think that we are truly fulfilling our mission as a community college. So I'm excited about that. And then the impact on our Owasso campus, we are still going to continue to offer courses there because we want to make sure that we are serving our neighbors well. But we will be more strategic about anchoring the Northeast campus in a way that is inclusive of not just the immediate community, but also showing how we are such an amazing campus for people traveling from Owasso and some of the smaller campuses that may not have the courses that they need at Owasso. You can drive 5 to 10 minutes down the highway, and here we are, and we're going to be ready to serve you well.
It's going to be really exciting for Northeast Campus and West Campus.
Yes.
So West Campus is engaging in the same opportunity. Now, so we just mentioned Northeast Campus and West Campus, and of course we've got 4 anchor campuses with Southeast and Metro. And every campus has kind of its own personality. And I know that was a really big deal when I started at TCC because we said one college, but everybody was really very spiritually, I don't want to say emotionally, but I would say, because emotionally makes it sound like it's not warranted, right? Yeah, but if you say spiritually attached to their campus and the colleagues there at their campus. And so some of that has transitioned into not quite as tight of a feeling necessarily to your campus, but everybody still has an affinity for their home campus. Tell us about the personality of Northeast Campus.
I was just having a conversation just maybe a couple of days ago with our new police captain, Williams, and we were talking about the campus culture, and I was like, how do you experience Northeast? Because I'm always curious about when people are new to the campus, what their experience is, and he hit the nail on the head. We have always been known as that campus that has that extended family feel to it, and he really captured it nicely when he said it feels like a small town here. So I'm from Okmulgee, Oklahoma, and so I'm from a really big family as far as my extended family. So I can't go to the grocery store without someone saying, "Aren't you Avery's daughter?" And so that's really what it feels like at Northeast Campus. It's just, it feels like a small community. We all pretty much know one another. We're intentional about that climate. We do things like a spring fling and a summer fest because we want to maintain that rich climate of we want to know who you are. We're your neighbors, and we're all here to make this community a strong, vibrant community. And so I can say that our faculty and staff really take great pride in that feel, and they work really hard to maintain it. So we're right now prepping for Spring Fling. We have faculty and staff that are meeting on like a weekly basis to plan this experience that I'm hearing is going to incorporate some piano playing and some karaoke. So we just like to have fun, and we want to make sure that people can show up and authentically be themselves, and that's quirkiness and all. And so we have a great community there. So that's how I would explain our.
I think that's probably how I would explain it too. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So Eunice, one last question that we ask everyone, and I'm sure that we asked you a few years ago when you joined us, but I'll admit that I have done more than sleep since then and don't remember your answer. So
Good,
for no one else.
I don't either.
Okay, good.
Well, and we've had 110 shows since then or something like that, right?
Pretty
So,
close, yeah. So if you could go back and give 18-year-old Eunice about to leave Okmulgee or whatever your journey was at the time, what would that advice be?
So I had to think long and hard about that. What advice would I give myself before starting college? And after reflecting about my college experience, I think I'd tell myself or encourage myself to get to know the resources on campus that are designed to support my success and make community there. Right, so there were just a lot of resources on OSU's campus in Stillwater that I just was not aware of. And so I wish that I was aware of those resources and built community around those resources. So that would be the advice that I'd give myself prepping for college.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, very thoughtful. Well, you've been listening to the Big Blue Podcast from the Thomas K. McKeon Center for Creativity at Tulsa Community College's Metro Campus. We want to thank our guest, Eunice Tarver, Provost of the Northeast Campus. Thank you, Eunice, for spending some time with us today, and we want to thank you for listening. Remember, you can catch the Big Blue Podcast each week in the week at TCC and on the Creativity channel at YouTube. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks.